Hello, and thank you for joining our Fireside chats at the European Cardano community. I am Marcus, one of the core team members, and if you like what we are doing, please consider supporting our individual projects. At time of this recording, these are Davide's Rookies Game, Ricardo's Web3 user group, or delegating to my Cardano stake pool with the ticker birth to support us at Larissa Health. You will find the links to our guests and our projects below the video. Now hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up, and enjoy this session.
Let's start.
Perfect. Nice to see you again, friends.
Fantastic. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome everybody to another session of our Town Hall Fireside Chat. It feels like a very long time because we skipped 2 weeks ago due to the Barcelona event, but we are happy to be here again and talk with an amazing guests and speaking about the project and what happens in our community. So I hope everybody is cool. How are you doing, guys? Everything is correct. Let's start with our mantra. We usually we start with our session with the mantra that is a copy of the global town hall, but it's made in different languages just to make more confusion. So it's not enough what we see every Wednesday, but we do even better here. So I will start because I'm only Italian in the room. So benvenuti all'esperimento.
Les choses peuvent. Quebra?
Fehlende Dokumentation.
Yes. Differ greatly between iterations.
Derek?
Historians overload and inspire.
Our goal provide a asphaless and lively environment for you to explore the highest potential de la colaboración humana. I wanted to say polenta.
Very cool. But it's not enough because we have our own mantra that Marcus wrote for us, and it's very important that he repeats everything he wrote here because it is very nice. So Marcus, please go ahead.
Just remember, if you write something, you have to repeat it every time. So be careful what you write.
Very careful, guys.
Keep your notes up to date. Try to study or learn something new every day. That's what we're here for. Support and connect with community members for synergies and goals. I'm happy everybody's here. Be inclusive, friendly, and wise with words, and even in anger. Share information without destroying dreams, people, or the reputation. Welcome to the European Cardano community. Thank you for everybody being here. Looking forward to today.
Yes. Just before we actually start with our amazing guests, I want to remember that we, as a European Cardano community, host different Twitter spaces in several languages in the European Union. We recently had the Greek space on Monday. The week before we had the Italian one, and we are open to the German with Marcus very, very soon. So if you have another friend that wants to host spaces in a different language, just let us know and we'll make it happen.
And we have a new one. We have a new one.
Yes, sorry guys, I forgot to say the most important thing. We finally have another team member that is here with us. It's Derek, also known as QUAZAR. And he is very known in the community from Swarn and a lot of projects. So we are so happy to have him here with us, giving an hand. And QUAZAR, please tell us something about you.
Well, first and foremost, I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really look up to the European community and how this group formed and how it's sustaining itself. Other than that, I'm here to really achieve the goal of Project Catalyst, to explore the highest potential of human collaboration. We can get there, and if we don't, even better, because we get to keep trying.
Perfect.
Great, thank you very much, Derek.
Thank you.
So let's start with presenting our guests because they are the main topic of our sessions. So we should have Zach with us, but I don't think he's here yet.
Nope. I don't think he joined yet, but I'll ping him again.
Yes, please. And while we can go ahead with Damon from Charli3. Thank you to be with us, Damon. It was nice. I have to say that Astrid put me in contact with Damon, and it's so nice to have such an important project with us to explain what you are doing. And the Oracle is one of the most important things about the blockchains, so that allows a lot of application to run. So please tell us something about your project, Damon.
Oh, thanks for having me to begin with.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And yeah, Astrid's awesome. I didn't ask her to make any introductions. She's just been doing it. So wonderful, wonderful person. So yeah, just to explain an Oracle on a high level is basically to manage secure data transfers from off-chain or on-chain, but particularly off-chain types of data, to bring it on in a decentralized way, a trustless kind of way, to make sure that a lot of projects have secure and understood, transparent data operations. You know, things like lending and borrowing protocols, or even our own Mehen guys here right now that use our proof of reserve for USDM. So there's a lot of that's the very quick version of what Oracle data does, but it can, or what an Oracle does, but we can bring in lots of different stuff. It's not just prices of different things. It can be like insurance logs, or shipping and manufacturing logs, or identity, gaming, whatever kind of stuff that a project may need.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give that little bit. I mean, I thought we could open it up to more. Like I'm so used to having to give such a quick version of what an Oracle is. So that's it.
That's amazing. Often projects just go like, they have a long agenda that they promote, and so
Nope.
thank you.
I have lots else I can say about what we're doing, but you asked me what is an Oracle, so I just gave that's what an Oracle is.
So I'm gonna ask, what are the next amazing projects you are going to tackle?
What kind of other things are we going to tackle? Good question. There we go. So following on the back of a lot of Catalyst stuff that we had from Fund 11, we were very excited. We had all five of our Catalyst proposals got funded, which gave us a good slice of operating costs, basically. And right now, what we have is called a push Oracle. So we're pushing data on chain for people to use in by reading reference inputs, right? So it's kind of open to anybody. This can all be seen on our portal, which is portal.charli3.io, which gives you a full overview of all of the data feeds that we're currently running. Now, that doesn't mean that's all we're capable of. It just means that that's all that's being paid for currently. We can bring on kind of any sort of data you want. And also, again, just fortuitously having Matt here with USDM, their reserve amount is also there to show exactly how much is being backed up for USDM 1-to-1. So if anybody's curious about that, go check it out on the portal account. And that's updated daily. And there will be more later. I'll let Matt speak about his own project. So past that, we have a open source DEX aggregator written in Python. So yeah, there's other DEX aggregators out there that are really good. Obviously DEX Hunter does their own thing. And Indigo has created one, I think the first one, that was called Dexter a long time ago. But none of them were written in Python. Our part of our backend is written in Python, so that's why we needed it. So that's fully open sourced. We've basically built the whole thing already, so that should be going out soon to anybody who wants to use it. And that's just for our backend operations of making sure that we can grab data a lot faster, that we don't have to rely on different APIs from the DEXs. We can just read every one directly on chain. Now, we do it for half the DEXs already, but the other half are built differently, and so we needed different processes. And then we're also implementing like order book things like Axo and Splash and Genius Yield that aren't in the current landscape of what DEX aggregators actually manage. So a little bit of improvement on that one. And I think one of the biggest ones that we're finally building is what we call the ODV product, which is on-demand validation, which if you were to search this on your own, you could search a pull-based oracle. So basically, it's if a user on a platform wants to request a piece of data in the moment, you can do that, and the fees then get pushed onto that requester. So it takes away the cost of it from the projects, which can get very expensive. Like if you have a gaming betting application type of thing, right? And every time somebody wanted a piece of data, the project had to pay, they'd go bankrupt right away. So, but it also allows you to do transactions, like I said, on the fly. So right now we post stuff on chain that anybody that can then just pick up and use, but the on-demand is used in many different functions. A lot of the main oracles use that as their main platform for, especially for lending and borrowing, but also gaming, identity verifications. When you log into something, blah, here it is, and that'll be really big for like legacy and TradFi type of integrations with people, like when they want to push their data on chain or whatever, or it's requested to get that. We can do that information as well. It'll be the same thing with hopefully with USDM in the future, that as soon as anybody wants to input dollars or whatever for collateral, it would automatically use that product to manage and update to their reserve amount. So I think it's a big deal. So we'll have that coming out soon. And then for the future, we're going on to the new Apex chain that's happening. So cross-chain management with UTXO based stuff. Apex should have an integration with kind of similar to the upcoming Cosmos stuff with Cardano. So we can hopefully present to EVM type platforms as well, which is obviously a really big hurdle. I mean, it's the reason the Chainlink's not on Cardano as well, because they'd have to build a whole separate network, but it's also the same reason we're not somewhere else, because we would have to build a separate network, which is not ideal. So we'll be going there, but for the big future of being able to connect everything together, as well as outside industries and things like Midnight, the EVM side, other UTXO-based chains, whatever, is that we'll be building a full Oracle side chain, which I think is the biggest thing for us, because it lowers costs and increases speed. It allows us to get around the block timing issue on Cardano, so we can present things a lot faster for native integration. And then it can also we can have a lot of different SDKs connected to it. So regular industries can connect to it in certain ways, but also have our own log of historical data that gets pushed on there, which is very exciting. But we can organize that how we want. So like on Cardano right now, we can't really have encrypted data in different things in the way that we manage the Oracle management, because like I said before, it's a reference input. Anybody can read it, right? So it can't be encrypted. But for outside companies, for say like their manufacturing logs or your sales logs or stuff, you don't want that to be public domain. This is where we can handle that privately, however we want. I know Midnight is presenting to do the same thing, but this is just for our own Oracle kind of management. And it also, like I said, it brings it down a lot on the costs for people too, because then we can use the token gas and set it to whatever we want it to be. And right now on Cardano, it can get expensive, like in a bull run, because all the nodes in our network make a transaction to then post everything on chain, right? Which is then you're using that 1 point whatever ADA per go. Sure, the network transaction costs are actually only a few cents, but that 1 point whatever ADA that gets sent in a transaction can add up, but if we have our own network, we won't have to pay that. And then for the token holders, that's better, because we have more use case for the token. Like everything's being paid in our token. We can manage the node operators a lot better, have the payout system a lot faster, and be able to run a hell of a lot more nodes than we currently can, because on Cardano, we're limited to 6 nodes just based on the memory management that we can do per transaction for the Oracle updates. So I'm excited about it for the long-term future, but that's a bigger project. We're working with IO on that with the partner chains operations, as well as TX Pipe, the dev shop basically is working with us to manage all of the research around the implementation of that and building that forward. We're working with a couple different dev shops right now. Our audit is currently being undertaken by Anastasia Labs, and then another, I think a great firm we've been working with for a long time called Metalamp out of Eastern Europe there is doing our ODB platform as well. So like I think it's good that we have this collaboration of multiple sets of minds instead of just one big chunk from one person. And hopefully Anastasia can come back and audit the rest of the products that we're building out in the future as well. And most of this is all Catalyst funded. So we're really excited to have the platform or else we wouldn't be able to do so much. So it's pretty sweet. So that's kind of the quick spiel about everything that we've got going on right now on the bigger kind of project-based level, I suppose. And other than that, we have, tiny little things for the community. Little NFT project we launched a long time ago has a unique staking mechanism to it that we have. So if you have one of our NFTs, you can go stake them for free. And we have some upcoming stuff with LP farming, if anybody's interested in that, launching the token on new dexes. And we just launched on a smaller centralized exchange as well called CoinStore. So if you don't want to use your ADA and you want to use your US stablecoins, you can go there and purchase our token that way as well. Just for some extra reach. I think they're out mainly in the Asian markets. So we don't have a lot of reach there. So we thought we'd do a little bit more push. So yeah, that's kind of the big one. I'd love to have any questions from people if that's it. I don't know how long our time frames are here. So
Well,
it's a
go
casual
ahead.
conversation. So
Yeah.
if you grab a drink, then it's going to take probably longer, and then we try to cut everything off after but 1.5 hours latest. So I was always wondering two things. The first thing is when I would build a project that creates live data, would I then try to build my own Oracle, or would I then get to you and say, Charlie, you have all the experience. Can I connect with you and you work with that data and make
Yeah.
it available?
Ultimately, that's what should happen, and that hasn't happened a lot on Cardano. So certain projects have been using us, and many don't. And the whole purpose for those listening or listening later, the whole purpose for using a third-party Oracle and why Chainlink is so huge is mainly for security purposes, right? If you are doing a lending and borrowing protocol or a betting application or something, and you're taking this data in a centralized thing and you're pushing it to your users, there's nothing to say that you're not changing that for your own gain. Now, obviously, people will not be changing things like crazy, but there has been in the past a lot of situations where the centralized entity will, slightly change things in a little bit, a couple cents here and there on a certain token pair or something, to then fudge their profits a lot. And if you're taking that data in from us for an automatic smart contract integration, that can't happen, right? That's the whole purpose of the Oracle integration. So ultimately, that would be the best. And we try and connect with projects in their earlier stages because we have a specific format that they have to build to for integrating the data. So hopefully they build along that datum standard is what we call it. And that's why we want to do it. And that's why I think it's important to have the oracles on chain for that center of trust. So same thing with Mehen, and I'm sure that Matt will say the same thing later, is like they could push their own reserve data on chain if they wanted to, but there's nothing holding them accountable then to actually presenting the correct data if they did it themselves. So using the third party as a or a third party trustless kind of manner, that's why the Oracle is necessary that way. But on the other factor, people might say, well, then can't you just do the same thing? Like if you're in cahoots with the other project and fudge things up? Well, if you want to think that way, sure, but no, we can't. Because it's run through an external node operator network. We don't actually touch any of the operations, right? It's all run through other people. We've created the software that then other people run, and then we have a lot of security stipulations on that software. So if things come in and there's a value that's way off, right, we will not, it gets thrown out automatically. If there's something that's slightly off for more than a few updates, it then gets rechecked and thrown out. Sometimes nodes get stuck because the APIs they're connected to haven't been updating. If those haven't updated properly in 3 or 4 data sets, they get tossed out. And it's a reason why we take a median data set. Some people ask, why don't you take an average of all of these different data sets that you bring in? And it's like, well, if we took the average and didn't throw out any of the bad data, then the data is bad, because it's getting thrown off by those other averages. So if we have a minimum data source of 3 for most data things, especially for pricing data. So say on Cardano here, we would have to take from 3 of the dexes, the exact same data. If a project has just launched and they're not listed on at least 3 dexes, we will not put their data up. For the proof of reserve Oracle for Mehen, that's very different. Like if they only have 1 account or something that's doing a reserve, that's completely separate. That's a singular source because it's a singular bank account, or a singular reporting source of all of their accounts. But for on-chain, we want a minimum of 3, and ultimately we want more. So like our flagship feed, which is the ADA USD feed that a fair amount of projects are currently using, which is all for free, by the way. So if you go to the portal, you can get that one for free, as well as the ADA Euro and ADA Swiss franc feed. That's all free. If anybody wants, we take for the ADA USD feed, I think there's 15 different sources that we use for that. So just in case, a bunch go down, you still have that redundancy. In case a node operator goes down, you have that redundancy. And then all of the security measures on top of that are written into the code. So it's really difficult to bring something down. And I know we had we had a small niggle problem a few weeks ago. And that was mainly because we were pushing an update because we saw potential failure that would happen. Unfortunately, that failure happened in the moment, and it brought down 2 nodes, but there was only, or 2 data sources, but there was only 4 for this feed. And so then we're left with 2, and then.
You cut off?
Damon, you muted yourself.
Yeah, Damon?
Damon?
Damon, you're muted.
I think Boaz muted himself, muted Damon.
Damon.
And he finally got animated.
There we go.
In his hands.
There you go. Now
What
you're
you
back.
said, David, was exciting. We missed it though.
Oh, there we go. Now my audio's back.
Yes.
So I was just saying we had like a black swan event, unfortunately, where like all the things that could have happened went bad. But ultimately, the reason why something even presented a potentially bad piece of data was because there wasn't enough data sources. So we really want to promote more projects having listings in many different places. Like, don't just put all into one big pool, because if that one pool messes up, you're screwed. This has happened on one of the earlier lending platforms on Cardano a lot, where they're only pulling from one DEX, and quite often their prices were actually wrong, but their users didn't know that, and they're trading on wrong values constantly and losing $15, $20, $30 here and there, but they don't know because they're not checking it in the moment. I don't check when I use a trading platform. Typically I go, oh, well, that's the pair. I know that's the token registry. Cool. I trust it, and I go for it. Right. So you're trying to trust that platform. And if they're operating in bad faith, that's problematic, you know. And the big problem I've seen on Cardano, if I'm just being real with this casual conversation, is that a lot of projects will forego security in order to take max profits from the community, right? Or to have larger product offerings, but not pay for security around those products to show them. So, you know, certain lending and borrowing platforms, if they show that they have like 40 pairs, well, it's like, yeah, because they're just pulling it from one source and there's no security measure backed up around that. And you could see that with Liquid in January, that kind of finally fell apart, where they had a mass liquidation event that I think was 140 or 150,000 ADA got liquidated wrongly because their data source messed up, their singular source from CoinGecko, which no one should ever use, by the way, for actual processes, because they have no security, they're not an oracle, and so they just show the lowest price that comes through their different sources. And when one of the sources messed up like crazy and lost its peg to 6 decimal places different, right, everything went down. It triggered a ton of liquidations, and that was horrendous. And then we ended up providing a lot of data for them when they came to ask us for it. So that's why you don't ever want to just use external sources. It's really a security situation, and that's why a project should come in and use an external oracle, either us or, you know, OrcFax is around too, and we tackle the problem slightly differently. So yeah, that's to answer your question in a long-winded way. We got it.
Amazing.
Just to close that from that side is, so if I see the advantage of using your oracle, do I pay then as a project, or do I get an incentive, an extra incentive for providing the data? Or is that a basically free service where I get the security provided, but you can then make the profits out of it if you use the data? What is the model?
Yeah. So this is depending on the product that we have. So the push-based oracle, where we're putting things up, obviously the nodes are paying for that every time, and so that needs to be paid for by the project specifically, typically. Now the project can do whatever they want to gain those funds, either from their own treasury or increase their own fees on their platform to cover those costs from the users to then pay us, whatever. But you just have to, if you look at our platform, you guys could actually go and help fund any feeds that you want from your favorite projects. If you want to help them out, there's a donate button on the top, and you can select exactly which feed you want to donate to help out running that security, you know. So we added that in just in case projects couldn't afford it or something like that. But like I said, there's certain ones that we are paying for internally for the continuous updates, so people can use it for free and get in there and start using it and understand what benefit it brings. So you would be paying me for that. If you are a data provider, then that's a totally different situation. If we're pulling data off of you and you have a charge for it, then, you know, there could be incentives there. So that's your business. But the other way is that if you want to connect and have the payment passed off, that's with the on-demand validation that I mentioned earlier, that pull-based oracle. So your users, when they want a piece of data from the oracle that's already pre-set up, you know, our nodes are set up to the data sources for that specific set of data. They're just not constantly running. If you want to do a liquidation event and you want to check, is this the price? Is this what I'm liquidating at? Is this correct? Okay, request confirmation from Oracle, and then you pay for that Oracle fee within the transaction that you're making for your liquidation or anything else, or your bet at the end of the day, or whatever it is, you know. Talking to like Cornucopias for like their racing games and stuff. If people want to put bets on it, by the end of the game, it'll run an Oracle management, say, oh, this was the USD price of this or the ADA price of that, and pay out in the moment. But then the user would end up paying for that in their transaction fee. So it depends on the model that you're using. If you want continuous data streams or you want to request it in the moment.
Cool. Thank you.
As a project or a user. So yeah, there you go.
Oh, there was a lot of more information.
A perfect transition
more information. I was just doing the quick information off the beginning of what is an oracle. So
come back anytime.
Yes, please.
Expand on it.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
how did you and Mayhem end up working together?
Oh, well, I met Matt in Vegas in a hotel at CNFTCon, I think, Matt.
Yep.
Just randomly, and I was just networking. That's why I go to the events typically. And we're just in the casino, and I was just chatting with him, and because we both had our badges on and stuff, and asked him what he was building, the typical questions. And this was 2 years ago now, I think. Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is what I think we're going to be doing. I don't know." And then I talked to him about oracles and the security that provides, and the assurances to their user base to know that they're not messing up the numbers or anything, like it's a third party verifier, and how we already have that system set up to pull in that data. And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that." And then obviously they did their own research to look at different other coins that are using oracles to do the same thing. And from there on, we just kept working together. And like I said, they could post their own stuff if they really wanted to, and spend the time to build out that system if they really wanted to. It's just like other projects, spending time and money that is far surpassing just integrating with us and paying us for the stuff, which is the silly part of other people building their own oracles. Anyway, so Matt could, they could do that themselves, but it's much easier to work with us. And then it also bolsters the ecosystem to show this connectedness of projects working together in their respective fields. I mean, Marcus, you said it before, where it's like, oh, you come to the person who's the expert in that thing instead of trying to manage it yourself. Like I'm going to go to Matt if I wanted to have questions or management about a stablecoin. I'm not going to try and build one myself. I don't have the time for that. I'm too busy. So yeah, that's kind of how we got together and continued everything. And we're still continuing. Me and Matt talk probably, at least once every 2 days, if not more, about different ideas and possibilities. So it's been a great relationship, and they've been really solid and promoting us a lot as well.
Cool.
Oh, thank you. Just for everybody, this is an open talk. So if you have a question, just join the question. Don't raise your hands. We're in a cozy
Yeah,
room.
Derek,
Oh,
get in there.
My bad. It's my first day, y'all. Like, come on, please. So a lot of people in Cardano believe that the path to mass adoption will come with a stable coin, and it's great that we have one. Like, big kudos to that. However, I think there's something to be said about mass adoption with the Oracle side. Once we have a strong Oracle unit bringing off-chain data on-chain, like Chainlink, but here, I think that's another path. That's maybe an additional lane on the highway to mass adoption. I see that as a huge challenge or opportunity for us to explore.
Definitely more opportunity, and right now it's more so like there's not a lot of projects that do that, and a lot of outside implementation. So I think it's partially our duty to go out to the legacy type industries and stuff to discuss what can happen with different like blockchain processes for themselves. So we've been doing that. Like I talked at not the last one, the one before that, the summit when it was in Switzerland. And at one of the parties, I was talking to this farmer that showed up because he was like, "Oh, I've kind of thought about blockchain stuff before. I want to check out what's going on with this, and what kind of management do you think we could do with the farm? Like, is there any implementation with this?" And he was a dairy farmer. And I said, "Well, tell me what you need, what kind of stuff that you struggle with." And this, like, I like telling the story because it's just something that people wouldn't think about for dairy farmers and blockchain, and they have like certain standard certifications for their product of like if it met a certain criteria to then be graded a certain way to then be able to be sold to the right markets at a certain price. But they have a really hard time managing that. And one of them is for like I guess there's different levels of how organic it is, or how well the animals are treated. And one of the biggest factors on that is how much time they've spent outside. eating real grass in their field, right? So you could have, like, through an Oracle presentation, you could have little chips in each one of the cows, which they usually have anyway, subdermal chips. And that's constantly uploading their data to the blockchain every few hours or something to show how long they've spent outside, like a GPS tracker, which can then be recorded on chain and then sent to the verifiers, like their board of verifiers for this specific qualification. And then they can easily get that, instead of having this bureaucracy of back and forth and having, like, the verifiers having to send people out and spending resources to do that and check on the farms all the time. And then it's still just being a person reporting it, so they could, if they were incentivized the right way, give the certification, which happens a lot, especially in fishing industries as well.
Makes the whole NFT thing a lot easier.
Yeah.
It makes the whole NFT thingy as well easier, right?
Yeah, you could have personal identifiers for the cows too, which would be interesting. And then well, it's a big thing that way. And like, people could follow along with the NFTs and like donate to the cows and crap or whatever they want. But that was a big one, because then now they can easily get their stuff, they can easily move into markets, they can easily present their product for the correct price, but it's all automated, and it's you have that verified truth set. And then, as well as their amount that they produce, they also have to verify that. And if you just built in something on the weigh scales that every time they bring in the milk, every time they do their milking every day, right, and that gets uploaded automatically at the end of each weigh, then again you have a standard record of exactly how much you've produced. And I know that that's an issue currently as well in that industry. So that's just one use case, but we've talked to insurance people and shipping logs and manufacturing companies, also just people managing their stock, in their warehouses and stuff, to know exactly how much is in one place and being moved at a faster rate. It's a big deal for that interoperability and mass adoption kind of thing. But there's still that weird mental barrier, right, for most people that are like, oh, it's blockchain, which means crypto, oh, it's a scam, let's not look at it. But it's not. So you're totally right, Derek. That is a big deal to move through.
The most counter arguments I always got when I was talking about blockchain is, why would I need blockchain for that? That's the most things that I hear when I talk to IT experts that are linked between both worlds, and they say, in most cases I wouldn't even use blockchain. But if you're on the blockchain, then an Oracle is a must, if I understand that right, if you want to work in real time.
Yeah, especially for outside data. Yeah, absolutely. Different things on chain, obviously you don't need to use an Oracle, certain things. I would even say, if you're taking native data from Cardano, now that you have these DEX aggregators and stuff that is just pulling it directly from the source, you don't really fully need an Oracle to do that work. But anything that's off chain, absolutely, it's a completely different process in the coding and managing that data. So for sure, you definitely should. And even on chain stuff, it's just more secure with an Oracle, but it's not fully necessary. Like what Dex Hunter does is a different process, right? They pull in the lowest price for you as a user for trading, and we don't do that. We're taking a median value for the most fair market value for things like lending and borrowing, right? Not the lowest price of things. So yeah, it's different processes, but yeah, anything from outside data for verifications, for identity and logs, for sure, should definitely be using oracles for security.
Let's transition to Matt, if you're okay.
Hey, Matt.
Then he can build on that what you have just said, and then give us a few of updates of Mayhen as well, and around the current discussions that are in there.
Exactly.
Well,
thank you very much for exactly. And if you want to come back to explaining us something else, because you have a lot of stuff to talk about, you are always welcome.
Well, final one. What's the best way to reach you? What's the best way to reach you if somebody has a question?
Oh,
Sorry.
best way to reach us is anywhere. I tend to run most of the socials, so our Twitter or X profile, which is Oracle Charli3. Make sure it's the real one because there is a fake one out there we can't get rid of. Telegram and Discord as well. So, but if you go to the X or our website charli3.io, all of the official links are listed there in a link tree on X or on our website on the top. Join into those communities. We'll always answer questions or anything, and that's it. So there we go.
Perfect.
Thank you
All right.
for this.
I don't know what this slide is, but it's pretty crazy. We've got all of our stuff all in one.
Yeah, we should have one page. I just try to make everything in the same page because we have only one slide to show
Okay.
per time. So I have to
is-
put everything there.
That's a one pager. All right.
Yeah,
that
it
is
really
how
is.
to do a one pager. Come on.
So yeah, we've built a fiat-backed stablecoin. The reason that we're here with Charli3 is that, like Damon said years ago, we had this vision for making a stablecoin. One of the biggest questions in stablecoins is, where are the reserves? What are they invested in, and how do we know that they're there? And the biggest, the natural answer for it was, well, we'll just have it. We'll put it on chain and we'll publish it there for the public. And that was the original plan, was to, use an oracle, and Charli3 was the natural choice at the time, and use that oracle to publish the reserve value on chain, be very transparent about it. We give them read-only access to our accounts, and then they would publish that value. The tricky part, though, became, well, what if we did this and take it one step further? What if we actually use the oracle value on chain in a smart contract that would itself limit the USDM that was minted? So you can't ever mint more than the reserve contains. So that was an interesting problem that we had to solve. We had to get kind of creative because, as you know, in Cardano, the UTXO model is one that there's not naturally an amount of token on chain value that's actually on chain. The way people see the amount of token that's on chain is by looking at a blockchain snapshot that adds up the total amounts. That snapshot could be a little behind the tip. It could be that it's not including everything. It's always an old number, so to speak. So we came up with a way that, as every USDM is minted, there's a counter that sort of runs in the background. That this counter, every time you have a mint, the counter goes up. To match it, every time you have a burn, the counter goes down. So there's one UTXO that contains the total value of USDM that's been minted, net of burns. And then the Charli3 Oracle value is tested against that during the smart contract phase of the mint, and that's incorporated into the token policy, and it's a very clear, clean proof of reserves. So we really were fortunate to have a team like Charli3 to put that stuff on chain, and get work with our brokerage and make sure that they get the right value to Charli3, and then Charli3 publishes it on a regular basis. The more exciting thing for us right now is that recently, just a few weeks ago, we announced a partnership with a Norwegian crypto exchange that will be the exclusive minting partner for Europe, called NBX. And NBX is a Cardano-friendly centralized exchange that has been very active in the community. And so what they're going to do is NBX will have access to the reserve. We'll have a bunch of joint accounts that are opened up between the USDM team and the NBX team that would be co-managed. So there'd be kind of define the reserves. Currently, they are two money market fund accounts. So there's one at Western Asset Management, one at Fidelity. And so Damon takes those two numbers, combines them, publishes them on chain. What we would like to do is increase the definition of the reserves to include the accounts that are managed by NBX. And so those would be inclusive of the reserve as well. So we'll add those additionally to the reserve calculation that Charli3 puts out. Also, we're looking at, when you use a money market fund, there's kind of an overnight delay. There's trade settlement times that take many hours, and sometimes it happens next day. So what we're doing is we're adding an additional bank account that will have kind of some of the reserves to be ready for giving money back to users or taking in funds for instant minting. And we can also take in a couple of other things that we're not going to mention on this call, but we will talk about it when we have time to announce it. So we'll be able to take, value in, and then have the Oracle reflect that value, mint the amounts that are necessary, and then get the tokens into users' hands in a fairly quick manner. So that's the exciting part that we have, and I'm glad that we're able to work with this Oracle provider, and they do a great job. I would just kind of back to Derek's comment about real world adoption, and I think that really there are a handful of technologies that are enabling technologies, and Oracle is one of them, because you can take values from the physical world and put them on chain. So imagine that, remember the internet 1.0 days where you'd go to your web browser that was probably integrated with your internet service provider, and you would get weather data that came from some national weather service or some government entity. That was kind of the core functionality, was this base level. Now you can, in the internet, take values that are coming from sources like that, and they're coming from many sources, and you can combine them together, and the entire ecosystem has grown to such a point where now it's all fairly universal throughout the internet. You see values that are present in real world life reflected online. The Oracle reflects them on chain, and so if you want to talk about how much time the cows spent in the yard to see, give fresh grass and sunlight, that's the kind of thing that's useful for certain industries. But it's also useful for a lot of other things where you wouldn't even think about. I mean, one of the obvious early implementations was like gambling. So who won the baseball game, who won the soccer match, those kinds of things were published on chain, and then the online gambling thing would happen, and the result would be known. Smart contract would pay out the winner, or the loser, take money from the loser to the winner. So those kinds of things were early Oracle implementations and necessary, and that helped to bring the gaming space on chain. But then also, when we're looking at bringing payments, bringing trade finance, bringing real world finance that finances actual trading businesses, actual work that's being done in institutional level onto chain, you need a stable coin for that, so that you can have a reflection of a dollar on chain. So all the on-chain benefits that you would get from insurance and from having certainty in payment, having instant peer-to-peer payments, instant peer-to-peer transfers of tokens, those kinds of things can all be done with stable coins. And then with a fiat-backed stable coin like USDM, when the receiver gets it, they can come to us and then redeem it for $1 and have that dollar. So the natural brand extensions there would be enabling that payment to happen at the cash register, or using products that would help people to custody dollars, on chain with their own self-custody wallets, and have their savings be preserved in this immutable blockchain. So all those things are needed for further adoption of the blockchain ecosystem. And so that's kind of what the piece that we're trying to bring, is this integration into bridging the world between TradFi and DeFi, TradFi and on-chain financial activity, and helping to be that factor that makes both sides of that very easy.
That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah. I see now why I wouldn't build that by myself.
Yes.
Especially stable coins,
Yeah,
with the US regulations and everything. It sounds like a total nightmare.
Yeah, I just remember Matt was with us last time already, and he was very generous with his time. And the further he explained what they're going through, the more I was like, yeah, no way that I would ever think about doing this. So big thank you for everybody who's trying to build a stable coin, and especially here now, Matt and team. Thank you so much for taking this, because I think it must be draining. You have a little up, and then you have such a huge mountain still to climb, and which is rewarding, but you still have all those voices that are always against you. Yeah, thank you for your strength.
Really, for real, yes.
Well, we'd like to be able to open it up to retail users. We'd like to be able to scale the platform a lot, so that then that we can have, you know, the kind of liquidity on chain that's necessary to support this ecosystem. So it's been a little bit of a slow burn. We've been launched for almost 2 months now, and I know when you look at some of these stable coins, they start off their adoption curve very slow, and then all of a sudden you get this hockey stick event, and it just ends up being, you know, a lot of adoption. I think that that's the point at which the platform really becomes operationally resilient enough to be able to open it up to all the users that need it. And that's kind of the path that we're on right now, is to have that, you know, we're happy with where reserves are right now. We know this isn't the end, but we think we have enough users. We have enough, you know, to test our own systems and make sure that all the data flow is going to the right places, make sure that the reporting we have to do for the regulators is right, and make sure that everything that we need to do for KYC control, token control, you know, minting, burning, having the reserves be you know, remain liquid, and then accounting for kind of corner cases in different places. That's like where we are right now, and we'll very soon, I think, have the ability to, you know, open up to a broader user base in the US, where the states that we have down there on the right. And then once that opens up, we can then start with the licensing process through the first wave of states. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is sort of looking to slowly but surely kind of rotate through this whole process.
And what made you tap into the euro now, or the European market? Because I assume that the other part is already very, very big.
I can answer this question. He did that so that he can join us more often.
Yeah.
That's a good reason. That's actually the best reason.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, doing things in the US is doing things on the regulator's hard mode. You know, if you play the video game on expert, so to speak. And that's really what we're doing. In the European Union, they've very clearly defined stablecoins as e-money. And like you would have, I don't know if Venmo and PayPal are present throughout the EU, but all the e-money providers, it's just money, but it's not on an internet blockchain. It's not an internet system. It's on a blockchain system. It's the same thing. And so the regulators have a very clear view on what stablecoins are. The US regulators can't find a way to unify around that concept. But when you have a licensed centralized exchange partner that works with Cardano, that's one of the big problems. Is, you know, kudos to Damon for finding CoinStore, because they're one of the few exchanges that have Cardano native asset support. So there might be only 5 or 6 in the world that do all of the native assets.
Yeah.
Well, I know that NBX is one of the ones. They had a Catalyst proposal last time around. It got enough votes, but it didn't get, like, the funding ran out before they got to them. So they had a proposal to do a native asset exchange and a centralized exchange in Norway. And I think they might revive that proposal and have it up for the next round, so that then they could have, you know, centralized exchange access, clean, you know, to users directly from the centralized exchange to a retail user, without having to go through ADA and then to the DEX. And then, you know, that whole cycle is a bit of a adoption nightmare sometimes. Really, that would inject a lot of liquidity into the system, I think.
So we're trying, as a lot of founders as well from Cardano, trying to talk to different exchanges as a group to get them to change, because like Binance and other folks were being really silly. Like, they're like, oh, well, we don't have CNT operations, but like CoinStore didn't before we jumped on there, and it only took them like a day and a half to put it in. Like it's not a big deal. So for people to say, oh no, we can't list your token because we don't have CNTs, and that's just a whole undertaking. It's like it took like no time at all.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a cop out excuse.
Are there representations like, for example, I know KuCoin has a few.
KuCoin does, yeah.
Are those ERC representations then, or are those native?
Those are native ones for certain platforms. So they were, I think, the first centralized exchange. Them and Gate were the first ones to do it as the larger ones when they were smaller. And they are native, but a lot of people haven't gone there because, especially with KuCoin, it's extremely expensive, and Gate is also extremely expensive. So just an idea, like, because we get questions, and I'm sure other people do too all the time, of, well, why don't you get on more centralized exchanges? It's like, well, with DEXs, stuff can pop up anywhere because the community can add into it. The community can help and add in that liquidity, right? That's a huge, huge deal. Like the amount of liquidity that we have on the different DEXs, that's not us. Like we only own like 10% of it. Like we seed it and then other people add to it, for benefits and bonuses. But for centralized exchange, you as the project have to own all of the liquidity that goes in there for trading. And they charge, like KuCoin and Gate are 60 to 65K just to pay them to get listed. Then they want 50 to 60K to do marketing to make sure that there's trading going on and people come in with liquidity. But then you have to put up on those platforms like a minimum of 50 to 60,000 in liquidity to begin with. So you're down 150K right off the bat with no benefit so far. And most people aren't going to the centralized exchanges anyway, especially through a large bear market. That's not going to happen. And then on top of that, like it's hard to get the people to come in and actually see the volume, because those exchanges also want to see that you have like a minimum of 100 million in volume in daily volume, which is impossible because you can't get listed to begin with because you don't have the money. Like it's a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of garbage. Sorry for hijacking that there, Matt. I'll leave it back to you.
You're right. A big piece of it is that, you have to have a reason to want to list. If you're making a meme coin or something, you want to have pump centralized liquidity, and you'll throw some money into there to get onto that exchange and then rise. And so there's a lot of that kind of thing happening. But the reason for having it is really to get liquidity into the ecosystem. So I don't know that you could probably do a great job to have a Cardano native asset, centralized exchange that would list lots of tokens. This doesn't cost much to list a token. It's just a matter of how much value this centralized exchange wants to extract from you as a project that needs what they have. And so one of the problems that not a problem necessarily, but one of the things that we've found with our interactions with the centralized exchanges is we want a centralized exchange that will help us get USDM into the hands of the Cardano community. That's our number one goal. We want USDM. We want new USDM into people's hands. And for that, you need licenses. If you operate in the UK, you need a UK license, e-money license. If you operate in the European Union, you need your local regulator will issue you an e-money license, and you passport that to the other countries. If you operate in Canada, same thing. You need to have a local on-the-ground presence to mint the token for dollars, or to redeem it for dollars, for that matter. But that's, the Cardano community is global. It is throughout Europe. It is throughout, there's the Africa initiative. It's big time in Asia. We want to make sure that the whole Cardano community can be served by USDM. And to that end, we want to find centralized exchanges that will help us to onboard, on-ramp and off-ramp people. And a lot of the centralized exchanges, I know CoinStore in particular doesn't use fiat on-ramp and off-ramp. They run entirely on USDT. So that's the kind of thing where that doesn't help us at all to get new USDM into people's hands. We could have them sending us USDT. We can mint USDM. We have to convert the USDT then into dollars, and there's big fees for that. So those are the kinds of things that we're not so eager to jump in, pay the listing fee, and make it happen. And we were very fortunate enough that we can help make NBX the exchange for Cardano for Europe because they're supporting the Cardano community. And we know that the Cardano community reciprocates. So there's a big opportunity for these guys to really engage Cardano in a meaningful way with the USDM support. And that's really where we hope that partnership leads in a mutually beneficial way.
Should we try to get them on one of our?
Absolutely.
Do
They
you
are
think?
fantastic.
Yes.
They were involved in the ITN. They were very early in Cardano.
Mhm.
And one of the best things that they do is they do staking on an individual wallet basis. So your NBX wallet is staked individually. So you can still vote your catalyst at ADA. You can still participate in governance using it if you're on NBX. So like they really are truly caring about all the things that the Cardano community cares about. They're really on board with it. They're a fantastic partner.
Yeah, and just as Matt was saying, to have that collaboration, I think is a big deal, because these costs are just too high for a system like ours that doesn't have a lot of liquidity, and a lot of projects that haven't had massive raises. Like we had one raise 3 years ago for less than $1 million. You think we have that kind of money sitting around still? Like it's crazy. In hindsight, Gate did offer us a listing for free a very long time ago, 3 years ago, before they were big. So we could have had that, but oh well.
Oh, go dust off that email and say,
Yeah,
sorry for the late reply.
Yeah, it was so weird, unfortunately. But we were talking with them. We're like, we don't see a reason for this, and then here we are. But but we have we've been frustrated about this, and then for Oracle security, like I said, with more sources, it's a big deal as well for the chain and for operations. People have seen this, so we have a private Slack group of I think there's 10 or 12 of the project founders from different main projects in Cardano that we've put together a document to then go around to different exchanges and say, hey, we'll list as a group. Could then you bring down the costs because we're bringing in all of this volume, and it's all the document has all the volume from all the projects and our following accounts and everything like that. So what kind of marketing they would get and what kind of push we would do, and so trying to market that to certain exchanges to get a good result to bring in more liquidity, basically. And so we can, it's good for them because they're taking in money, and also good for us because it costs less as a bulk listing. But NBX is one of those platforms that I do believe Patrick Tobler has been kind of spearheading from the Endmaker to talk to. But then there's also a Swiss exchange, and it's not about trying to get to the biggest ones. It's about to try and get to some right now that we know have organic volume, and they're not just wash trading everything, which is hard to see on certain exchanges. I know Coinstore does a lot of wash trading, but again, it was a collaborative situation. For any people who might be listening to this, don't ever try and list with Coinstore. Just bad teams. Not a bad platform, just a bad listing team. Total nightmare. Go for BitTrue or something like that.
They're very they're very sort of horse tradey as well. You can kind of get
it's not good, but they wouldn't give us our money back, so we pushed out to list stuff. So that was good. But yeah, I mean it's a big deal to try and get that liquidity in, and unfortunately the main entities of Cardano that don't care to do a lot of that external marketing and push for collaboration with different platforms. But I mean, it's understandable to a degree why, because the whole idea is to hand it over to the community with Intersect and make sure that we take care of it that way. So yeah, hopefully that continues, and maybe I should suggest the Intersect thing, because we could have more people yell at the exchanges for us instead of just us in private. So anyway,
That's the
that's
working group name.
That
Yell
Audible,
at exchanges
right?
working group.
yeah, Yell Exchanges. Intersect army of Yell at exchanges, get us listed.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I could go on, but I have family.
Yeah, we are running out of time. Well, the good news is that we didn't have Vec with us, but at least we had more time for those amazing guests. So then, thank you very much, Matthew.
Thanks for having
Again,
me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you're
Paul.
very welcome, and I
I
hope
really
that you can
appreciate the
join us
opportunity
again
here.
because
Um,
it was a very interesting conversation. I personally learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know. So thank you very much for your intervention.
is there a last thing, Matt, that you wanna say to the critiques that are out there? Is there something where you would say, keep it easy, guys? Something that you always wanted to get off the chest, but you couldn't do it via a social account?
Oh,
No?
not really.
Totally.
Me and Matt have those conversations in private.
I say what I mean a lot of times. It's probably too much, and
Me too.
it really is just a like give us a little bit of time. We are working with slow moving institutions that are, you know, it's like the analogy I use is we have Lego blocks that are all over the table, big pile. We have all the pieces, they're all there. We're putting them together. We have instructions, we know how to do it. But some of them are just trickier to get together than others. They're all there. So when we look at how we're going to, you know, broaden the platform, currently we're bringing on institutional users. We're not really advertising or pushing that right now while we kind of retrench and do some tech stuff. But, you know, once we're going to, you know, we'll get to a point where we can say, please, thousands of people come and get USDM and we'll be ready for you. And it's not that far off, but it's just a matter of slowly incremental progress. You know, our roadmap is to be a snowball and kind of roll our way through and make sure that we can gather and grow as we go rather than just going, you know, big bang, here's one giant liquidity provider. And we're kind of telling them to as well, just like, give us a second, because once the liquidity is on chain, people will want to take it off chain. And we need to have the ability to, at scale, bring people, you know, connect people to get their cash back. So that's those struggles that doing it at scale. It's the difference between there's one thing that you can do it, then you can do it at scale. And we have the partners that can do it. We could do it in a very limited way. We have the partners that can do it at scale, but we're still completing API integrations. We're still completing the final sort of last mile problems of that. And then we can get it. So it's just give us a little bit of time. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about the liquidity. If you see a deep peg, go arbitrage it if you want. And, you know, the dollars are there. It's right. Charli3 reports them independently. They take money, they take the feed from our brokerage account and they publish it right there on chain. You can see that it's actually over reserved right now because we put extra money in to just test trade and make sure the pipes work and everything. So there's actually more in the reserve than there is USDM out there. So I wouldn't worry about the value being there. We're just got to get some growing pains through this whole process. So, you know, that's where we are. And I don't know. I don't bother. Nothing bothers me. People have their opinions and they're free to share them. But, you know, it's just like a fool can remain a mystery, or he can open his mouth and remove all doubt.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was good to be said. Really.
Yes, very
Appreciate it.
important indeed.
For our next, I like the little clapping emoji. Good stuff there, Eduardo. So I think this would be cool to do again, but also, you know, a larger audience would definitely be had if we ran it through like Twitter Spaces or something like that too. If you guys like, I personally like having all the video up and seeing everybody, but I know Zoom is just like not the quick link of just jump in and hear people talk, you know. So think about that maybe for next time. I'd be happy to run one even from our account or whatever with you guys, and we just do a collaborative pull everyone in situation.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually,
wonderful.
we are using Zoom because we just use the technology that we have already used to for the global town hall, but we are already planning to migrate to new kind of tools. So if you want to have video, probably go to Discord. Otherwise, we can also use X, Twitter for this.
Yeah, the X thing is just quick to get people in, but the personal side of it, like this, if people want to join in with faces, yeah, like this obviously works, or we use Google Meets a lot, whichever, whatever's easiest. But yeah, I just know that, it shows up on the feeds and stuff for on Twitter. If you jump in, it's like, oh, these people are on Spaces. Oh, okay, I'll click on that. But it
Probably
doesn't do
makes
that if
sense.
you're on a Zoom call. So
Maybe
Yeah,
we
we
can try.
thought of a hybrid approach. That's what we try to do. But currently, to be honest, the roadmap that we have was totally overwhelming, so it fell off the table.
Yeah,
that's fair.
We had to catch up a bit. But did you try? You said you do the Google Meetups. Did you try to run it hybrid, like having a meetup at the same time?
Yeah,
space.
I've done that before once, and the main issue with that was microphone feedback, because you can hear it from whatever's, because you're running it on two separate devices usually, and then you can hear it on one and the other because things are too sensitive, and then it's a whole nightmare. And we had to shut down the Google Meets and just run the Twitter Spaces.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
You can try the Twitter broadcasts. Maybe that can be an alternative.
Oh.
I know that there are people that
Oh.
are using it, so never tried.
Oh,
That's a
Matt
new
is a
one.
pro here. He's like,
QUAZAR.
Yeah,
Mark,
excited about it.
They remember Web 1. Matt, how dare you insinuate all of us are old enough to remember Web 1? And Zoom is a Web 1 thing they brought with them.
have you tried it? Have you tried the podcast thingy, or is it
Web 1. I used to stream the Catalyst town halls from Zoom to Twitter. It wasn't the best, but with the right setup, they can be done. People on Twitter can't participate unless you've got I mean, they can. It's hard to do it by yourself. Kind of need two people, which
Yeah, the Twitter Spaces have one new feature since I took a long break from using them, and then have been using them more lately again, is that they do have like a comments button in there now too, so people can comment while you're doing it, whereas that never used to be a thing, which was kind of crap. But yeah, I think a lot of the platforms operate very similarly now than they used to. The main issue with Twitter Spaces is that it rugs a lot still. Like they just get shut down, and it's a whole problem. Like if I started Twitter Spaces, I can't tweet out about the spaces when it happens without it completely crashing everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have to just start the spaces, but I cannot promote it at all from the main account that I'm doing spaces from without it dying. So bye, Max.
Co-host.
Hey, bye.
Love to have you.
What we will try to is maybe in June or so, the guys here and us, we just try to mix some of the spaces and find and document it somehow, and then find a golden, how do you say, do you say a golden line or so, like
a sweet spot.
Yeah, and the sweet spots, that's probably the best way. And
love
then
the golden line. I've never heard that before.
It's definitely a soccer analogy.
Yeah. Okay.
We've talked horses, cows, chickens, and this other stuff, so keep it going.
Yeah, it'd be sweet. I'd love to have like other projects as well, just for like open discussion too at the end. It would be cool. But yeah, a lot of people have a lot to say, and that could run for 4 hours. So that's not great. But yeah, I think this is great. And if we want to pick it up again, just let me know.
Perfect.
I will get in contact because I have your.
Yeah, you've got my information now, so that's perfect.
Exactly.
Davide, you want to cut us off? Call us in now? You want to cut us off now? Release us?
Yeah, let's close it. No, that's joking, of course. No, I think we did. We are after the hour target where we have every time, so it's okay. It was a very, very nice session. I really enjoyed it a lot. I learned a lot of stuff. And we didn't have Zach, unfortunately, but it happens quite often with the influencers. They are always busy and they forget to join us. But this
Jerks.
means that we had more times for Demon and for Matthew. That for me was very informative.
Yeah.
A very pleasant session. So thank you again. Thank you
Perfect.
to all the
Thanks for
guests,
having us.
all the participants. That was
And,
very nice. Eduardo, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. This was quite often.
Hey, he does speak. Wonderful.
Yes.
There
I just put my
is-
I put my
there
prepared
is-
slide in the chat
You
here.
know, I learned from my father, speak what you know and listen what you don't know.
Yeah,
In that
absolutely.
case, I prefer to listen, and was amazing the case you talking about. And my curiosity is how the people react when you're talking to put some chips in the cows to see
Yeah.
what time stay outside. I like to see the reaction of the farmer to see.
It was this. What? I can do that? They're like, yeah. It's great.
I like the
Uh,
idea.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I would love to have, we're just really waiting for our first like real business to come in. So I'm excited for this track in Catalyst. I'm hoping that somebody, some real business for the real world integrations track of the
Oh.
next Catalyst fund comes in with, I don't know anyone who is. I'm talking to some people to see if they will do, but it's a very short timeline to get people to make proposals for this track for real world businesses. It's just
I suggest go to Azores Island because the cows all the time it's outside. Even my grandfather have cows, and one of the biggest milk producers from Azores.
I wouldn't mind just going to the Azores in general, so I'll make a vacation out of it.
Okay.
Talk to the cows.
That'd be great. Well, I'm gonna take off here, guys, and get back to work. Me and Matt have actually been, and our teams have been talking while we're on the call here. So we
we
gotta
need to deal with.
You gotta go
new
deal with
integration.
something.
Yep.
And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you again, guys. And yes, I think we are at the end of our event. As usual, we meet again in 2 weeks. So remember us, and talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, guys.
Bye. Thank
Ciao,
you.
obrigado.